My parents sold my $3,600 gaming PC to fund my sister's shopping spree, so I moved out silently and left them in complete chaos. I'm a 22-year-old guy, and my parents have always made it clear who their favorite child is. My sister Lily could burn the house down, and they'd still call her just a free spirit. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, the one who followed rules, studied hard, worked part-time at a local tech shop, and rarely asked for anything. It didn't matter. No matter how hard I tried, I was invisible next to Lily's spotlight. She was the golden child. Every birthday, she got designer handbags and new phones. When she crashed her car, my parents bought her another one so she could get to class safely. When I landed a scholarship and a part-time job in my field, they said, "That's nice, but don't let it distract you from helping your sister with her errands." Most days, I kept my head down and focused on what I could control. My escape was technology. Every spare dollar I earned went toward building my dream gaming PC. A custom build that took me 2 years of saving. It wasn't just a hobby. It was my symbol of independence. That machine was mine in every sense. It was where I coded freelance projects, learned new skills, and disconnected from the chaos of home. Lily mocked me for it. "You spend all that money on a computer instead of living a little," she'd sneer, flipping her hair while scrolling through her endless shopping hauls. My parents would laugh along, saying I needed to lighten up. But lately, something had changed. I noticed hushed conversations in the kitchen, my dad whispering about financial problems, my mom sighing about helping Lily out. I didn't think much of it at first. Our family drama had always been the same old cycle. Still, a strange feeling settled in my gut that night. I didn't know it then, but they were about to cross a line I could never forgive. Building that PC was the one thing in my life that felt entirely mine. I spent months comparing specs, saving from every shift, and waiting for sales just to shave off a few extra dollars. When the final part arrived, a sleek RTX card I'd dreamed about for years, I stayed up all night assembling it. The soft hum of the fans, the glow of the RGB lights, the first successful boot screen, it felt like triumph, like proof that patience and hard work could actually build something beautiful. I remember my dad walking into my room that night, shaking his head. $3,600 for a toy, he muttered. I smiled politely and said, "It's not a toy, Dad. I use it for work, too." He just grunted and left. Lily popped her head in after him, snapping a picture for her Instagram story. Caption, "My brother's fake spaceship," she joked. My parents laughed when she showed them. It was always like that. Every accomplishment turned into a punchline, but I didn't care. When I put on my headset and dove into my freelance coding gigs or late-night gaming sessions, I finally felt free. No yelling, no comparisons, no judgment. Just me and the quiet hum of progress. Still, that peace didn't last. One evening, while eating dinner, I overheard my parents whispering again. "Lily's credit cards are maxed," my mom said, her voice strained. "If she doesn't pay soon, her credit's ruined." My dad sighed. "We'll figure it out. Maybe sell something. We have options." I froze mid-bite. Something about his tone made me uneasy. Sell something. We didn't have anything valuable besides my PC, and I immediately brushed the thought away. Surely, even they wouldn't. I looked across the table at Lily, who was scrolling on her phone, oblivious and smirking. That sinking feeling returned, heavier this time. I didn't know it, but they had already decided what option they'd take. The day it happened started like any other. I had just finished my morning shift and stopped to grab coffee before heading home. I remember humming along to the radio, feeling content. But the second I opened my bedroom door, everything froze. My desk, empty. The dual monitors, the tower, the headset, gone. Only the faint outline of dust where my PC once stood remained. At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke. Maybe my dad had moved it to clean, or Lily borrowed something. But when I checked the closet, the cables were gone too. Every piece. My chest tightened. I stumbled into the living room, voice shaking. Where's my computer? My mom looked up from folding laundry, avoiding eye contact. My dad muttered, "We had to sell it." It was like a punch to the gut. "You what?" I whispered, barely able to breathe. My mom spoke softly, as if that would make it better. "Lily was in trouble, sweetheart. Her credit card company was threatening legal action. We couldn't let her ruin her future." I stared at them, waiting for someone to admit this was a prank. "You sold my computer? The one I built with my own money?" Dad's voice hardened. "You live under our roof. We all make sacrifices for family." Lily entered, dressed in a brand new outfit, holding her phone. She smirked when she saw my face. "Don't be dramatic. It's not like it was doing anything important." That's when something inside me snapped. Every late night, every skipped meal, every ounce of effort I'd poured into that machine, it all flashed through my mind. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stared at them, feeling the air leave my lungs. "You sold the only thing I ever had for myself," I said quietly. "I hope it was worth it." Then I walked out the door, leaving their stunned silence behind me. When I came back that evening, the house felt smaller, like the walls were closing in on me. My parents were sitting at the dining table, acting as if nothing had happened. My dad scrolled through his phone, and my mom hummed while setting the table for dinner. The smell of reheated lasagna filled the air, but all I could taste was anger. I sat across from them, keeping my voice calm. "I want my money back." My dad didn't even look up. "Watch your tone, son." "I worked for 2 years to build that PC," I said, forcing each word through clenched teeth. "You had no right to sell it. It wasn't yours." My mom sighed, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "You're overreacting. Lily needed help. You'll have plenty of time to rebuild another one." Lily walked in then, twirling her car keys. "You're so dramatic," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's just a computer." I turned to her. "You used my hard work to pay for your shopping addiction. How is that fair?" She crossed her arms. "You never share. You're always locked in your room like some antisocial robot. Maybe this will teach you to be part of the family." My dad finally looked up, his tone cutting. "Enough. We're not discussing this again. You should be grateful we raised you. If your sister's doing well, we all do well." That line hit harder than I expected. We all do well. Except I was the only one losing something every time she messed up. I felt my throat tighten, but I kept my voice steady. "You didn't just sell my computer. You sold my trust." For a brief second, silence filled the room. Then my mom scoffed. "Stop being so dramatic. It's not that deep." I stood up, heart pounding. "It's deeper than you'll ever understand." And as I walked back to my empty room, I realized something chilling. This wasn't the first time they'd taken from me. It was just the first time I noticed. The days after that argument were suffocating. I barely spoke to anyone in the house. Every time I walked through the hallway, Lily's laughter echoed from her room, a cruel reminder of what my hard work had funded. My parents acted as if nothing had happened, asking me to move on and be mature. But the silence in me was heavier than any words I could have said. I stopped joining them for meals. My dad would knock on my door, muttering about respect, while my mom whispered through the crack, that I was ruining the family peace. The irony almost made me laugh. Peace? They destroyed mine long ago. At night, I'd lie on the floor where my PC used to be. I could still see the faint dust lines on the desk, the empty space where my screens once glowed. It wasn't about the machine anymore. It was about what it represented. Freedom, independence, self-worth. All of it gone with a swipe of my dad's credit card and Lily's smug grin. One night, I heard her laughing on the phone. "Yeah, he's still sulking," she said. "It's hilarious." That was it. Something inside me went quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes from sadness, but from decision. I realized they'd never see me as an equal. To them, I was just a resource, a tool they could use, mock, and discard. I didn't tell anyone, but that night, I started making a plan. Not for revenge, not yet. For freedom. The next morning, I went to work early. My boss, a kind older guy named Martin, noticed my exhaustion and asked if I was okay. I told him part of the truth, that I needed extra hours to move out. Without hesitation, he nodded. "You've got talent, kid. I'll make sure you get the shifts you need." For the first time in months, I felt seen. Over the next few weeks, I quietly built my escape. I started selling old gadgets, saving every paycheck, and researching cheap apartments. I even stashed small bags of clothes at a friend's place. At home, I kept my head down, acting compliant, doing chores, nodding along. When my parents complained about my attitude, they thought I was coming around. In reality, I was counting the days. Then came the midpoint twist. One night, while pretending to study, I overheard my parents bragging to relatives on speakerphone. "We had to sell his computer," my mom said proudly. "He was becoming obsessed. It was for his own good." They weren't just justifying it. They were turning it into a story of parental wisdom. My dad even laughed. It finally taught him some humility. That laughter burned into me. That night, I backed up all my freelance work onto a flash drive and deleted every trace of my data from the family laptop. If they wanted control, they were about to lose it for good. The night I left, the house was silent, except for the ticking of the kitchen clock. I waited until past midnight, listening to their soft snores through the thin walls. My heart pounded like a drum as I zipped my backpack. Clothes, flash drive, ID, a few cash envelopes, and nothing else. Before leaving, I stood in my empty room one last time. The faint dust outline of my PC looked almost ghostly under the streetlights spilling through the blinds. I thought about the nights I'd sat here, building dreams while they mocked me from the next room. I grabbed a pen and a scrap of paper and wrote one line. "You sold my work, not my worth." I left it on the kitchen table. As I stepped outside, the cold air hit me like a baptism. Freedom didn't feel glorious. It felt terrifying. But for the first time, I wasn't scared of losing something. I'd already lost everything that tied me to them. By sunrise, I was in my new place. A tiny studio with peeling wallpaper and no furniture. But it was quiet. Mine. I slept on the floor that first night, wrapped in my jacket, feeling more peace than I had in years. What I didn't know was that Lily was about to blow everything up online. It started 2 days later. A mutual friend from college sent me a link. It was Lily's social media post, some long, self-pitying rant about how her toxic brother abandoned his family after they sacrificed for him. But the comments told a different story. People started digging. Screenshots surfaced of Lily bragging in group chats about how my parents sold my PC to teach me a lesson. Someone even posted an old video of her showing off her new designer purse, the one she bought with my PC money. The internet did what it does best. The post blew up. Family members, friends, Even old neighbors started commenting, calling out the hypocrisy, defending me, demanding answers. My mom tried to do damage control, commenting things like, "It's a private family matter." My dad deleted his account entirely. Lily, ever defiant, doubled down before eventually going silent. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed with messages from relatives. "We had no idea they treated you like that. You did the right thing leaving." For once, people saw the truth. And that validation, after years of invisibility, hit me harder than I expected. But even as I read the comments, a strange sadness crept in. It wasn't victory, it was grief, for the family I'd never really had. Still, I didn't reply to any of them. I didn't need to. My silence was finally louder than their noise. The rush of vindication faded fast. Reality hit. Rent, bills, loneliness. My tiny studio felt colder with each passing night. I ate cheap noodles, worked long shifts, and slept on a mattress I found secondhand. Some nights I questioned everything. Was leaving worth it? Maybe I was the selfish one they said I was. The guilt clawed at me, whispering their words like ghosts. Then one night, I got a text from Lily. "You'll come crawling back when you realize you can't survive without them." I stared at the screen for a long time, then deleted the message, but it lingered in my head. A week later, I hit my lowest point. My power got cut off for late payment, and I sat in the dark, staring at the faint glow from my phone. I'd traded one kind of cage for another. Then, almost like a lifeline, an email notification appeared. It was from a former freelance client, someone I'd coded a small project for months ago. They offered me a remote contract job, full-time, real pay. I sat there, stunned, tears burning my eyes. For the first time in forever, something went right. Because of me, not despite them. That night, I made a silent promise. I'd never let them define my worth again. Within months, everything changed. I threw myself into that new job, working day and night. My skills grew, my savings climbed, and soon I bought myself a new PC, better than the last one, faster, stronger, and fully mine. I began taking private contracts, networking with clients, and even mentoring a few students online. The life I'd dreamed of, quiet, self-built, and free, was finally real. One evening, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon Lily's latest post. Her tone had shifted from arrogance to desperation. She was complaining about toxic people abandoning her and money problems. The irony made me smile faintly. Not long after, my mom called. "Your father and I want to see you," she said, her voice trembling. "Things haven't been easy for us." I met them out of curiosity, not guilt. They looked older, tired, smaller somehow. They talked about Lily's debt, about how families should stick together. Then came the real reason. "Could you lend us some money? Just until we get back on our feet." I stayed quiet, then simply said, "I don't invest in poor management anymore." My dad's face darkened, but I stood up before he could speak. "I learned something from you," I said. "How to stop giving to people who only take." As I left, I realized the balance had shifted. They no longer had power over me. Weeks later, they invited me for dinner again, claiming they wanted to reconnect. Against my better judgment, I went. The table was set like a family portrait from years ago. My mom forced a smile. "We miss you," she said softly. "Lily does too." Lily looked up from her plate. "You think you're better than us now?" I met her eyes calmly. "No, just freer." The conversation spiraled quickly. They begged, blamed, guilt-tripped, repeating every manipulation they'd ever used. But this time, it didn't work. I was done playing the role of their scapegoat. "I didn't come here to argue," I said, standing. I just wanted to see if anything had changed. My dad's voice rose. You've become cold. I looked at him and said quietly, No, Dad. I've just stopped setting myself on fire to keep you warm. The room fell silent. For once, I had nothing left to prove. As I walked out that night, I realized the real revenge wasn't destroying them, it was outgrowing them. It's been a year since I last saw them. My new apartment is bright, filled with everything I built on my own. I've got my own clients, friends who treat me like family, and a peace I never thought I'd know. Every now and then, I hear updates. Lily moved back home after her job fell through. My parents are struggling financially, still blaming everyone but themselves. Sometimes I think about reaching out, but then I remember that empty space on my old desk, the one they created when they sold my PC, and I remind myself, they sold more than hardware. They sold trust. Now every time I power on my new setup, I remember the journey, the betrayal, the silence, the chaos. And I smile, not with bitterness, but with clarity. I didn't need revenge in flames or drama. My revenge was quiet, peace, success, freedom. One night, as I sat coding under the soft glow of my new monitor, I whispered, This one's mine, forever. And for the first time, I truly believed it.